Hello and welcome to Peaky Boardgamer. My name is Xerakus and today I will teach you the game Furnace. This one here is the French version of the game. Furnace is a fast-paced engine-building game for 2 to 4 players that plays in about an hour. Let's move to the table and see how Furnace is played.
At first, separate the cards of the game. There are 3 types of cards: capitalist cards, startup cards, and company cards. Each player takes a random capitalist and a random startup card and places these cards facing upwards in front of their play area. The player's capitalist card indicates a special rule-breaking effect which is active for the entire game. I will explain all 5 capitalist cards' effects at the end of this video. Company cards are double-sided. One side is the basic side, distinguished by a compensation bonus depicted on the top of the card. The other one is the upgraded side of the company. The bottom part of any side depicts production bonuses. The non-colored bonuses of the basic side indicates bonuses that will be added to the card once it gets upgraded. With these cards you create a deck without mixing their sides. Place this tile at one side of the table and then slot this round marker in the first recession to indicate it's the first round. Then take the company deck, shuffle it and place it on this tile with the upgraded side facing upwards. Create a supply with the upgrade tokens, the money, which is victory points in this game, and the resources. There are 3 resource types: coal, iron and oil drums. These resources are meant to be infinite. If players are out, then you can make use of these multiplier tokens. Placing a resource marker on a 3 multiplier token is like you have 3 pieces of this resource. And if you place it on the 5 multiplier, it's like you have 5 pieces of this resource. Each player then takes one of the 4 player tokens and then takes a set of 4 discs of the corresponding color. Each player has 4 discs numbered from 1 to 4. You must also choose one of the players at random to be the starting player who takes that token. As a last step, each player takes all the bonuses depicted in the top part of their startup card, so this player would start the game with 1 upgrade token. A player with this card would start the game with 1 coal and 1 iron. The game is now ready to start.
This is the moment I need to remind you that if you haven't done already, please subscribe to this channel. It will incredibly help our channel grow. And if you hit that bell button, you will also be notified of all our future videos.
The game is played in 4 rounds. Every round is split to 2 phases: the auction phase and the production phase. The auction phase starts with a player who has the first player token dealing new cards from the deck in the middle of the table in order to be auctioned. The number of cards dealt depends on the number of players. 6 cards in a 2 players game, 7 cards in a 3 players game, which is our case here, and 8 cards in a 4 players game. So the dealer takes the cards, cuts the deck, flips the deck, and then places these cards one next to the other in the middle of the table using the basic side facing upwards. The remaining deck is again placed on this tile using the upgraded side facing upwards. Now the auction can begin. In the auctions phase, players alternate turns starting with the first player and continuing clockwise, and on their turn players place one of their discs onto one of the cards. So the yellow player will start first, followed by the black player, then the third player, and this will continue until all players have placed all of their discs. Now there are 2 rules on how and where you can place your discs. You can never place one of your discs on top of a card which already contains one of your discs. So the yellow player cannot place this disc on this card. The second rule is that no card can have discs of the same value, so this too cannot be placed here as well. But you can place your disc on a card that holds an opponent's disc, not necessarily overbidding that player. This means that the black player can place this 1 disc here in this card. Eventually, all players will have placed all of their discs and situation will be like that. Any cards that hold no bids are removed from the game. Now, all other cards with bids on them will be resolved in specific order going from left to right. It will also make it easier if you stack the discs on each card with the largest disc in the bottom. So, starting with the first card, the player with the highest disc will gain this card, but before that, all other players that have bid will gain compensation. So for the first card, no player gains compensation and the white player takes the card. Whenever you gain a new card, you place it next to your other cards, always with the card's basic side facing upwards. In the second card, the black player with the largest disc will take the card, but before that, the white player will take compensation. The compensation bonus is depicted on the top of the card, and in the case of the first card, is 2 coal. However, when you gain compensation, you multiply the bonus to the value of your disc. So the white player will take 6 coal, and then the black player will take the card. Bonuses indicating an arrow are processing bonuses. By spending the depicted resources, you can gain the resource depicted in the right side of the arrow. So the compensation for the white player is that the player may spend 2 coal pieces in order to gain an oil drum from the supply. This transaction can be made a number of times equal to the player's disc value. So in our case, the white player can perform this transaction once and gain up to 1 oil. The yellow player, however, can perform this transaction up to twice. So they could spend 2 or 4 coal to gain 1 or 2 oil drums respectively. Of course, any resources you gain on one card can be spent on the processing bonuses of following cards. Finally, the black player gains the card, but without gaining compensation bonuses. This process will continue until all cards are resolved in order. After all auction cards have been resolved, the round continues with the production phase. In the production phase, all players act simultaneously using their cards, and their ultimate goal is to produce as many coins as possible, because coins is victory points in the game. You use any number of your cards in any order but one at a time. You can use part of your card's bonuses, but you must finish using one of your cards before moving on to the next. When you're done with one of your cards, you tap the card or slide it slightly and continue with the next one. The production bonuses of cards are similar to compensation bonuses. You either gain resources from the supply or process resources into something else. This time the arrow depicts a number, which is how many times you can use this processing bonus. Each player starts the game with one startup company card. All startup cards award players with an upgrade token. They have one power that converts resources into coins, and a power that uses upgrade tokens to flip company cards to their upgraded side. In this example, I will start by using this company and gain 2 coal pieces from the supply. The bottom uncolored bonus will only be available after the card becomes upgraded. I have now used this card and I shift it upwards. Now I'll use my startup company and I start by gaining an upgrade token. By spending an upgrade token and the coal, I can upgrade one of my basic companies, and I can do this any number of times. So, by spending 2 upgrade tokens and 2 coal, I can upgrade both of my other companies. The startup company cannot be upgraded. Unfortunately, I cannot use the middle part of the startup card because I'm lacking the iron resource. So, I'm done with this card. The only card left is this one, and now I can use the upgraded bonuses as well. First, I gain 1 iron resource, and then I can turn a coal into an iron, and I can do this up to 4 times. I have 1 coal in my supply, but I prefer to keep it for now. So, I'm done with the third card and my production phase is over. When all players are done with the production phase, the round ends. You roll the round marker to the next round, the first player token is passed to the next clockwise player, and you move on with the next round. If that was the end of the 4th round, the game ends. The player with the most coins wins the game, and if there is a tie, then the tied player who has the most remaining resources wins the game. If you have this capitalist, you have one more disc to use in the auction. This disc is considered to be of your color, so the yellow player has 2 discs with a value of 2. With this capitalist, you can use iron instead of upgrade tokens whenever you're upgrading your cards. However, you must always spend all of your upgrade tokens first. So now I could spend 1 iron and 1 coal and upgrade my other company. If you have this capitalist, then once in every production phase you can spend 2 coal to reuse an already used company card. If you have this capitalist, then whenever you gain compensation, your compensation bonus is increased as if your disc was of 1 value higher. So in this example, the yellow player gains 4 coal instead of 3. Finally, the owner of this capitalist has no restrictions when it comes to placing discs in the auction phase. So the yellow player could place this disc here even though they have one of their discs on the card. They could also play the disc here even though the card already contains another disc of the same value. Important, in this situation that players tie, the yellow player will gain compensation while the white player will gain the card.
If you'll play Furnace with just 2 players, there are a few tweaks in the rules that I will now explain.
During the auction, you use the discs of a dummy player and also the die. The dummy player always plays third in the auction. So, the first player places a disc, then the second player, and then you roll the die for the neutral player and place a dummy disc in the indicated rolled column. The dummy player follows all restrictions and uses an applicable disc with the lowest value, so in this case they would place this disc here. Then the first player plays again, then the second player, and so on and so forth. Of course, the dummy player gains no resources, it's simply there to affect the other players.
The game also offers another variant for more experienced players that requires more planning. There are just a few differences to the base game, let's check them out.
In the advanced game, whenever you gain a new company card, you must decide whether you'll be placing it on the left of your other cards or to the right of your other cards. You can never place it between your other placed cards, so either to the far left or to the far right. You do this placement keeping in mind that in the production phase you can only activate your cards in order from left to right.
And that's how you can play Furnace. If you like our videos and want to see more videos like that, please subscribe to our channel. Until next time, have fun and play more board games.